recording this. So to launch Visual Basic, choose the Start button, choose All Programs, scroll down and find Microsoft Visual Studio 2010 Express. This is free software. Studio itself includes Visual Basic, C#, C++, I think J, whatever it is. It includes multiple languages. Because we're only using Visual Basic, I only installed the Visual Basic part of it. Again, it's free. You can download it at home, so if you need to do homework, then you can do that at home. Okay, so when you start it up, and if it's asking for a key, it says here it will run for 17 more days. So we'll leave that for now. Just click Close, and I will get you a key later this week. This is what it looks like when it first opens up. If you have already created projects, they will show up here in this list. Today you have not, so we are going to start with a new project. If you were doing this at home or you need a refresher from what we do today, you could do this project, quickly create your first application. It's a short tutorial. We are going to choose New Project. You get the New Project dialog window, and make sure that you're on Windows Form application. Later we'll do 1 or 2 console applications, but pretty much every day it's going to be the Windows Forms application. It needs a name at the bottom. The first program traditionally that we all learn in every new language out there is Hello World. If you were to start Java in 2 years, the first thing I'd ask you to do is Hello World. It's just the way it is. Click OK. And at this point you end up with this interface open in front of you. Should look slightly familiar. We have a menu. We have a toolbar. We have a Solution Explorer. These windows you can resize. I like to keep my Solution Explorer window small because I like to see lots of my properties. So go ahead and resize this so that your properties has more room. At the left we have a toolbox, which we're going to use a lot. So if you click on Toolbox, it pops open. And if you click the push pin here in the title bar, it will pin it there so it's always open. And if you scroll through, here we see all the common controls, containers, menus, data, and you're only going to use a few of these, but everything you need is right here. This is a form. When it runs, users typically call this form a window. I have that window open, or this window open, and we, the designers, call them forms here. This is an object. It's a thing that we're going to manipulate. And the first thing that you should do with every object is to name it. When you click on your form, the properties for that form show up here. Double-click the name property. It's near the top. That highlights Form 1. This is going to be Hello World. Now, before you type, be aware of the case sensitivity. This is proper case. That means capital letters on the first letter of every word in the name. For the form. Okay? Just the form. So we've named it, and now if you scroll down to the text property, it says Form 1. Go ahead in there and put in Hello World by, and then put your name. And hit Enter. Okay, so what happened is the title bar of our form was filled with that text. So the text property goes with information that is displayed. Now you can actually run this program by clicking the Start Debugging button, and notice that it's the F5 key. You're going to want to be familiar with that. Go ahead and start it, and there's your program window. You can click and drag it around. You can resize it. and you can minimize it, maximize it, and close it, but it doesn't actually do anything else. Notice that whatever property you click on, there's a help at the bottom to tell you what that property does. Okay, so even though we can run our form and move it around, minimize, maximize, and close it, it really has no code in it. And if you want to see the code, double-click the form, and it brings you to the code window. And what you're seeing here is public class hello world. When we named our form, this is what the name became. And we have a method header that says hello world underscore load. And I know it doesn't make sense now, but it will soon. Over here in the Solution Explorer are two very important buttons, View Code, View Designer. Find them. And we want to view the designer now, which brings us back to this window. The first thing we're going to do is put a quit button on here. So find your button control from your toolbox. These are called controls. Double click button, and it puts a button in the top left corner. You can drag it around. You can resize it. And again, the first thing you're supposed to do with every new object is name it. So make sure the button is selected, not form. Change the name to BTN Quit. BTN Quit, small b, capital Q. Scroll down to your text and change the text to ampersand on your 7 key, quit. Find the font property and change the size of your text to be something else. And you can change the style of your text to be something else. Here you don't get a preview, so you have to know what it is you want. Okay, so if you don't know what you want, it makes it a little bit more difficult. I'm looking for copper plate Gothic. There we go. You can bold it or not bold it, etc., etc. You can change the color of your font by choosing for color. So you could close the font group, choose for color and the arrow, and go ahead and just pick a color for your font. To change the color of your button, it's back color. And again, if I run this program and I click quit, nothing happens because I still have not written any code for anything yet. So stop it. Okay, let's write your first line of code. What happens is I want to run this program like this, and then when I click on quit, I want my program to quit. In other words, I need to code my quit button to do something. The easiest way to get to the code for that is double click the quit button from this position. And that brings me to this method here, btn quit underscore click. So if you've been following along, you now have two methods. Hello world load, which we'll deal with later, and btn quit. Neither one of them actually has any code in there. Alright, we're going to put the code close in here, and it will automatically add in these open and closing parens for you. So run your program with your F5 key and click your quit button, and it should close your application from running. And there you go, your first line of VB code. At this point, you should see that you have multiple tabs open, so you can just use your tabs to go back and forth at the top. The asterisk means you haven't saved. This would be a good time for us to save. So once everybody has their quit button working, do we all have it working? To save it, it's pretty simple. As with all projects, if there's a file menu, there's a save, but even better, there's this disk, but if you mouse over the disk, it says just save the form. I want to save everything, and this project contains a lot more than just a form. So beside it is a disk, bunch of disks that are what? Save all. Click those disks. By default, it should pop up. If yours says Hello World 2, just get rid of the 2. The location is going to here. You know what? We could just leave it. No, I don't like that. Click Browse. Go to the place that I had you just create. So in Documents. And then you have COM20S. And then VB Unit 1. Select folder. Once you're in Unit 1, select the folder and click Save. So don't be in a hurry at this window. Make sure you're reading it. Make sure you're at the right location and that your solution name. Yes, you want to create a directory. Click Save. And let's go actually see what we just did. Go to Windows Explorer. Go find that folder because you'll get an idea of how much stuff just got created. If you look in Unit 1, you now have a Hello World folder, and if you double click it, you'll have 2 files and a folder name. Solution file and an SUO file. Okay, well don't worry about it if you only have one. The important one is the SLN file, which stands for solution. So everybody, close Visual Basic. And back in Windows Explorer, which I should not have closed, if you go to COM20S, VB, Unit 1, Hello World, to open up your project, you double click the solution file, the SLN file. Go ahead and double click it. Often you'll get a message warning you, blah, blah, blah. Just click OK about the trustworthy source. We are trustworthy. And it will open up your solution. Okay, I was hoping it would keep my toolbox pinned. It did not, so I'll just repin it. And now I'm ready to continue coding. We're going to add another button. This time, single click the button tool and click over here and drag it on. So click and drag just to see a different way to put a button on your form. We're going to name this button BTN, small b, Show MSG. I'll spell it out for you. Small b, BTN. Capital S for show. Capital M, SG for message. BTN, show message. Again, it's camel case notation, which means it starts with a lowercase letter and then every word after that has an uppercase letter. The text on here, the text is going to be ampersand show message written in nice English, with spaces. You don't have to add anything fancy there. Go ahead and change your font, so I'll make mine so you can actually see it. Now, I want to show a message. Well, where would I show the message to? The control that we add messages to is called a label. Find your label control and draw a big label down here below. If you look over here at your label properties, you'll see that auto size is set to true. You can leave that on or you can set it to false, depending on what you're doing. There's no right or wrong. Totally depends on what you're doing. I would like you to set it to false right now. Auto size to false. Label prefixes are LBL, so small LBL, capital MSG for message. So I have the name of this label is lowercase LBL, capital M, SG. If I run my project, I will see 2 buttons and the text label 1. Stop your project and change your text to say hello world. Stephen, what's up? So now if you run your project, this is what I'm seeing. I can still choose quit. That code is there. You can spend a minute here and you can make your text look good. So you can change the for color, which changes the color of your text. You can change the alignment of your label so that it is center aligned, and that would be under text align. You can choose where you want. I want mine totally centered. Running it. Now it looks like this. I can also add a border to my label, fixed single border. Running it. Now I see a border around Hello World. When you run this program the way we have it now, there's sort of a logic problem going on here. What's the problem with what we're seeing? Choose your label controls, scroll down and find the visible property and double click it. It will set it to false. Set the visible property of your label to false. Run your program. And now we do not see our message. We want to see the message when I click Show Message. So I'll need to code that. To get to the code for Show Message, double click the button here. And look at that. BTN Show Message click. So now to have it show, it works like this. Does anybody remember what we named the label? LBL message. As soon as you type in LBL, the context sensitive help IntelliSense pops up, and if you hit your spacebar, it will pop in LBL message for you. Now if it put a space after it, back up one spot. Press your period key, which is beside it's one of the angle brackets. What property did we use to make it hide? Visible. So what property would I use to make it show up? Visible again. Type in V for visible, and it takes you to the first V property. Press your space bar. Equals. What do I want it to equal to make it show up? True. T for true. Space bar. Run your program. Click Show Message. Okay, I didn't leave room for a hide, and this is a really ugly form, but I don't care right now. The hide message button I'm putting here, the first thing you should have done was to name it BTN hide, small b, capital H. And the second thing I would have done was to give it the text, and it's ampersand hide message like this. I'll talk about the ampersands in a minute. And so that you can see it, I will change my font size to something larger. And again, running my program, right now the show works, the hide does not. I haven't coded it yet, so the quit works. If I want to code the hide message from here, I double click hide. And you should all see BTN hide. And if this code here, LBL message.visible equals true, made the message show, what code would I put here to hide my message? Yep, that's right. Use your space bar. The IntelliSense will pop up all kinds of things to try to help you. And if you do not see, when you type LBL, if you don't see the name of your message box, you did not name your control properly, which means you need to go here, you need to choose your control, and you need to check the name. Mine should work, so I'm going to F5 to run it, and I have show message and hide message. Show message, hide message,